cheering year after year. Who's got the ballpark? That's so who's got the fans? With so much Cleveland pride. Who's talking baseball? We're talking guards. Who's talking baseball? We're talking guards. Nobody plays harder than the guards. We've got the players, these guys are really hot. We've got a future, we're headed to the top. We're on the warpath, it's spreading far and wide. We're talking baseball, we're talking guards. We're talking baseball, we're talking guards. Welcome back, Guardsmaniacs. It is Gary here with ES Eric Green, and we can't believe we're on the second half of the season here already, and the Guardians, we're in first place.
Yes, technically we are in first place.
I mean, it's not technically. We are. It's either you're
percentage
in first
points,
place
yeah.
or you're not.
526. You're right.
We're in first place.
Yeah.
First place is first place. If the season ended today, what place are we in?
First place.
We're in first place. So the Guardians, once again, are in first place. We are holding serve here. I mean, the White Sox, I don't think we necessarily expected the White Sox to be, doing what they've done this year. And really, the White Sox kind of remind me of those 94 Indians.
Yes.
We've had Baerga on this year. We've talked a lot about some of the, the younger Cleveland teams, and the White Sox, we know that they've had some high draft picks. They've had some good young players, but they have gotten better faster than we've expected.
And I think maybe than they expected.
For sure.
They're content with that. When the crunch time comes, will they be able to stand up in the heat of the race in the summer?
We'll see.
They'll have to find out. Yeah.
Yeah, so here we are, it is neck and neck, and this is just like the way, this is just the way it was back in those 94, 95 seasons, that we are so fond of. The White Sox are the rivals again here. Yeah. So we are neck and neck with the Chicago White Sox here, and we got some stuff to talk about. We got some hot prospects here for the Guardians to look at, and when they are prospects, and you got a team like the Guardians, there's not a lot of spots for them to be playing. So what are we going to use those prospects for? Well, those prospects could be used as draft capital. So we're going to be talking about some guys that, we possibly could be seeing. Those prospects could be on the move. And we're going to talk about some guys that we possibly, we want to see on the Guardians here. Some top trade some trade targets here in Major League Baseball that we think could possibly be helping the Guardians here. We're going to talk about some mistakes. We're talking about some things that we could be seeing the Guardians do here to, I don't know. We're going to talk about what we want to see the Guardians do here to try and grab a hold of this first place here.
Absolutely.
So, Erica, what are we looking at here as far as first couple of things we want to see?
We were talking. You already started talking about the standings. If you want to take a quick look at them, throw them up real quick because there are some things I'd like to talk about. This is the by division standings. But if I had up the wild card standings, there are all but 3 teams within 3.5 games of a wild card spot. The only teams that are the Angels, the Royals, and Athletics are 6.5 out. Nobody's more than 10 games out. I mean, legitimately, any team could still make that, come back and get a wild card spot. I mean, it's going to take some would take magnificent play from a couple of those clubs, but I think 50-10 is the best 60 game record, or 52-8 in history.
Mm-hmm.
So if they did something like that, that'd put them at 90 wins. But so it's not a question, but it's interesting to see. It's a wide open race still. I mean, I think everybody's except for the Royals and Angels are in it.
Yeah, I mean, so you gotta, the AL is just wide open this year.
Yeah,
and the NL itself is kind of Major League Baseball is just in it, and one of the reasons why I think baseball is wide open, where you see it this year as opposed to the history of baseball, is that they've opened up baseball with so many playoff spots. It seems as though half of the league right now makes the playoffs, whether it's through the play-ins and all the different avenues that you can make the playoffs. All half of baseball is making the playoffs, which makes the trade deadline now a little bit less consequential, for the winning teams at least. It used to be that you would come up to the trade deadline and you had a few winning teams, and then the rest of the rest of the league were sellers. So you would have this big buy off, right? You'd have a couple big buyers, and you had all these teams that were sellers, and you'd have these big deals. Well, half the league now is buyers.
Right. Like I said, every team in here is legitimately, so it's everybody's going to be picking from the Royals and Angels. The whole league, like you said, it's totally flipped over. It's flopped, and now, yeah, the scarcity lies with the sellers.
Yeah, for sure. So we're looking at the Angels. They got a few guys on there. You got Reed Detmers over there, who's a guy that I think definitely could interest some contenders. It's definitely a guy that should be interesting. That could be should be interesting the Guardians. Guy like Joe Adell, and then there's also there's definitely then a guy over there that should be interesting to the Guardians, and that's Mike Trout. And he's definitely somebody who you definitely are going to need, if you're the Guardians, you're definitely going to need the Angels to pick up a lot of that salary. Yeah. However, I think there's a lot of teams you're going to need the Angels to take a lot of that salary just because of his age and his injury history the last few years. But man, would Trout or Adell look good in this lineup?
Trout in center field, Watson in left, DeLauder in right. Kwan is your defensive replacement. That's an upgrade in my book.
It is. Huge
upgrade.
Do you think Kwan has to be in that deal?
He might. Yes, he might actually. He's an expiring contract too, so that would be good for them. If they want to keep him, they can restructure, resign him. If they just want to get it off the books.
Well, Kwan he's this year and next year, so they'd have him for another year and a half.
Okay, so we have him for another year.
Yeah. So he has another year left. But taking a look at our top prospects here, I don't think there's a guy on this prospect list that I'm not willing to give up for a guy like Mike Trout. There's a couple guys in the league that I'm willing to part with. There's a couple of guys in the league that I'm willing to part with some of these top prospects for what's his name down in Houston that we've been talking about,
Jordan
Alvarez. I'll give up a Rafi Velasquez and Angel Geno or Cooper Engel for those sorts of guys. Would
you want to give up pitchers, or mostly those ones are all fielders? You'd probably want to hang on to the pitchers if you could.
At this point, I don't really think that we have top pitchers right now in our system. Our top prospects are hitters, and
just Doty there at 95. Doty's the only pitcher in the top 100 we have.
Yeah,
but with these 600 that we have, these are 6 in the top 100 according to MLB.com. Only the Dodgers, I think I mentioned this in the last show, only the Dodgers have more prospects in the top 100. They have 9, which is crazy. And we have 6, and someone else has 6 too. But that's a pretty loaded system to have 6 in the top 100. You see that Doty's 95, Churios 98, and Caceres 99. But still, they've cracked that list. And Justin Campbell's not far behind. Liam Peterson, the draft pick, should be up there too. So yeah, they could definitely move on from some of these guys. Velasquez probably has more value than Manzardo. So, because he would take Manzardo's position. If you traded Manzardo, you could bring him up now and see what he's got. Or you can trade him now. What his value is now.
For sure, but I think Manzardo, I like Manzardo, and Manzardo actually, if
We've
you take
talked
out
about it. He's cheap. I like him too, but
if you take out his April, he's having a really good year actually. He just
not bad. Yeah.
started off so slow that it's going to be hard for him to, it's going to be hard for him to have good all year numbers with how bad that April was. But Manzardo's having a really good year.
Yeah, he's young. He's got plenty of time to rebound and come back next year and see what he's got. But Velasquez is knocking on the door, and
Absolutely.
so is Hanau. He's been raking since he went up to AAA. He's tearing through the system, and 22 is young, but it's not. It could be about time. I mean, I can imagine we'll see these guys before the season's over at some point.
For sure.
Top two.
But the problem with Janelle though is, and there's not necessarily a problem with him, but there's no place for him right now. Your middle infield at this point is set. So that's definitely a guy that you could see on the trade block. You have between Rocchio and Bazana, there's no place for him. Ramirez is set at third base, and Velasquez, if you keep Manzardo, your first base is set, or if you trade Manzardo and put Velasquez, there's no place in the infield for him.
Right.
You finally have your infield set.
Right. And this isn't the guy I don't think that they want to move to outfield. I just don't think it's in his stars.
And that's an experiment too that's got to end here with the Guardians. I appreciate it, but I would like to see them start drafting outfielders that stay in the outfield and come up.
That make it, yeah.
This drafting center fielder or is drafting shortstops and moving them to the outfield just seems to have not worked.
And if you notice, they put an outfield right next to Velasquez too, so he's been in the outfield. They're trying him in left field.
Mm-hmm.
Cooper, we know they've tried in left field,
which has been a disaster. And which you understand, it's not anything on Cooper Engel. It's a totally different position.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's defensively challenged to begin with from what the scouting reports say, and we've seen it.
And it's a thing that, like, when you move from catcher to outfield, apparently you have to relearn how many outs in an inning there are.
Yeah, the concentration and focus is worrisome. The lack of it.
For sure. So here we are. The Guardians, they definitely have the draft capital, I think, or the prospect capital to go ahead and make a move. It's just unfortunate that there's not a lot of, once again, when you go ahead and you take a look at the standings out here, there just doesn't seem to be a lot of teams out there that are so far out of it, that you can really, you can really shop. And then you go, look at it, we keep saying all the time that we want the Guardians to, up that salary and make those moves. And then you look at the team like the Blue Jays, who just spent so much money. And, they're out of it as far as, the East goes, but
they got pretty much nothing to show for it. And you'd like to see something for your money and your investment, especially, for Cleveland.
Yeah. And who's the guys spending the money over there? It's the architects of the Guardians. It's Mark Shapiro and those guys. Mike Chernoff, right? Is Chernoff over there?
Yep.
So
Mike Chernoff is there.
So it's really it's Cleveland North over there, and they have the open pocketbook. So if we really wanted to know what it was like if the Guardians could spend the money, there's the example. And so maybe spending all that money is not what would be the thing that turns it around there for the Guards. Which is really kind of goes into the face of the things I've been saying here the last few weeks. Where we're at, we want them to spend the money.
But do you let these guys grow and see if they can mature?
Yeah. I mean,
we've seen enough, I think, of Arias. He is what he is. I think at this point, his power is super exciting, but his ability to put together consistent good at bats is just too low. He looks lost way too many times, waves at pitches too many times. Phenomenal glove, and also his effort's been a little bit lackluster. Like, he's thrown a couple times to first where he just didn't, he could have fired it or put something on it. And he didn't even get it there. He had to bounce it. He skipped it to whoever was playing first, I think. Hoskins the one time because Hoskins called him out on it. So I think he's one that's because we're gonna have to make room when Jose and the Angel come back.
Mm-hmm.
2 people are gonna have to go. Probably Reese. I would guess Reese Hoskins and probably Arias. I don't know. Who do you think?
I mean, at this point, Reese Hoskins is a guy that you wanted to have because of his veteran leadership, but it seems just as though his bat is just gone.
Yeah.
And, that makes you kind of sad. Reese Hoskins was a guy that just had so much power. A few years ago there with Philadelphia, he's a guy that you loved to have, that you wanted to have.
Yeah.
And just seems like it might be over there for him. And it seems like he's a good dude and he's a good presence in the clubhouse. So, that does not feel good for a guy like him. Arias, he was a borderline top prospect, for San Diego. He's a name that you heard for a very, very, very long time. Never was a blue chipper, but he was still a guy that you thought was gonna come to the majors, have a bat, and for one reason or another, just never really is not sticking.
Yeah.
Whether it's the consistent at bats, the effort in the field.
Well, guessing which pitches if he's not guessing what the next correct pitch is going to be, or if he is just completely guessing and then waving, it's just not good. And
the thing is he's not making consistent contact, and it seems as though he's allowing his at bats to affect what he's doing out in the field. And
absolutely.
And I hate to I hate to sit on my fat ass out here and talk about a major league baseball player's a professional athlete's effort, right? Because I'm sitting on my fat ass,
right? And we're sitting here talking about it. It's easy.
Sitting here just talking about their effort, right? Because we don't really know what their effort is, right? But it doesn't look good, and it's hard to watch. And you watch and you hope that you just see a guy with so much athleticism and so much potential, and you just hate to see it go down the way it's going down for a guy like him, because you just see so much more that could, there's just so much more that could be. There's so much, you see so many flashes of what could be with a guy like Arias, and it's hard to sit on, like I was just saying, I sit on my fat ass over here and I say, you talk about his effort, right? And
right.
And you go, oh, he's bouncing throws and stuff, but but you see it,
right?
And
he's getting paid to do that job. He should do it to the best of his ability.
Yeah, and it just seems like he's taking his at bats out into the field with him, and it's going to cost him when these guys come back.
Yeah,
it's going to cost him his opportunity in Major League Baseball, and it stinks because he could be I think he could be if he could get his head right, an everyday major leaguer.
Yeah, a valuable piece to somebody's team. I guess Petey Halpin could go down too, right?
Oh, for sure.
So there's some options that they can keep Arias for now and see if he's batting 239, 5 home runs in only 31 games. So his pop is there, but like I said,
he's got to make consistent contact.
Yep. The OBP of 278 is not good.
No. He doesn't walk a lot.
And that's my concern about Martinez. He doesn't walk a lot either. He's going to have to rely on contact unless he changes that.
For sure.
But he's having a great year. Was having a breakout year, so I'm excited to get him back and see if it continues.
Well, I mean, he's hitting for power. The thing with Martinez is that he plays a lot of positions. He plays infield and outfield, and he can hit for power, which is great. But these guys got to walk a little more, which is part of what I'm not liking about the new way of playing baseball. Is that these guys don't walk as much. I was sitting watching some old stuff of Will Clark talking about Ricky Henderson. And I miss guys like Ricky. where it was about getting on base and these guys stealing bases and advancing, and these guys, when you watch it, it's home runs or strikeouts.
Yep.
And, Angel Martinez is really just kind of an example of that. And it's, not good or bad. It's just not what I enjoy,
No.
as far as a baseball fan.
For
I
people
like
who like strikeouts and home runs. Hey, it's a great time.
Oh, for sure. And, it makes the game go faster, I guess.
Yeah.
Or maybe makes it go.
The games are being finished, I believe, in record times.
Yeah. But there's just not a lot going on in them.
No.
As far as I can tell, there's not a lot of like
base action.
Not a lot of base action. Takes away, I think, a lot of in-game strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Hit and runs, bunts.
Squeezes, all those fun things that baseball is about, and they just get put to the side because of this all or nothing.
Yeah, for sure.
Brand.
It's just different. Guys like you don't see guys like Tony Gwynn. They were talking. I don't remember what show I was watching, but it was a local Cleveland show. It might have been UCSS, maybe. It was like maybe Bull was talking about it. I'm not sure. I want to give credit to who it was. I'm not sure who it was, but it might have been that. But they were talking about the amount of 300 hitters in baseball. And I think it was like there's only like 6 or 7 guys hitting over 300 now. And like maybe 8 guys hitting over 280 now. In all of baseball. And you go back to, the early 2000s and I understand the era of baseball that was, but you would have sometimes 6 guys on a team hitting 280. And now you're looking, that's in all of baseball.
Yeah. I mean, you got multiple 300 guys on a team.
For sure. And now, you're having 6, 8 guys in all of baseball that are doing that. And I think that is as much as, one of the things that we had a problem in baseball was, the game was going too long, but now you're having the game. Okay, it's short, but it's also,
boring.
You do want to see some excitement as well.
There should be definitely more action. Yeah. I mean, it's pitcher's game now. They are dominating. Like I said, with the mindset of home run, I don't know if it's going to get better until, the mindset has changed and they start thinking about taking those hits. And I think in the last couple of years that they have, I noticed a lot more guys slapping it backside than when they had the shift, when they were doing those full shifts. There were so many times it was open and guys couldn't even hit it there. And now I see Watson, he slaps it to both sides. Who's the other young one? Bazana, he slaps it to both sides. Get on base, do your damage then. That's like I said, that's what Ricky Henderson made. He couldn't wait to get on base. And when he got on base, he was like, I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do to score. And that's what you
It wasn't say I'm gonna do whatever I have to do. He said Ricky gonna do whatever Ricky gonna do to score.
Ricky gonna score. Yeah.
Will Clark, if you have a second, there's a really great video out there from Will Clark talking about the Giants would play the A's a whole bunch during spring training, and Tony La Russa would not want Ricky Henderson to steal during spring training because he wanted Canseco and McGuire to get their swings in.
Right.
And so you get, there's this one story that he tells, so Ricky Henderson gets on first base and Will Clark has him there, and Will Clark is like trying to egg him on because he knows that Tony doesn't want him, taking second. And so he gets on there and he's kind of, Will Clark tells the story much better than Gary's going to tell the story, but Will's egging him on, and he tells him, basically just egging him on, and finally he's like, by the third pitch, go, Ricky gonna go, Ricky gonna take second. So Will yells out, Ricky's taking second. They pitch out, Ricky takes second. See, he's safe. And Ricky gets up and he's like, I told you I was taking second. Ricky told you he was taking second. It's in spring training, but that's how competitive these guys used to be.
Yes, Henderson was very competitive.
Yeah. you know, I would love to see some of that again.
Oh, absolutely.
And these different facets of the game. See these guys, not just trying to hit home runs, not just these launch angles, start seeing these guys trying to get on base different ways.
Right.
Kenny Lofton, man, I would
have a hitter like that.
Have a hitter like that. Have a team. Why there's not a team in baseball that hasn't hired Kenny Lofton to come in and teach a team to teach it, come in and teach their team how to bunt like him. Kenny Lofton with Kenny Lofton, there was nobody that bunted like him.
No.
I mean, that was a weapon. You know what I mean? He wasn't a sacrifice bunt guy. He got hits bunting.
Yes.
And it wasn't just because of his speed. It was how
right. He wasn't trying to move anybody. He was doing it with nobody on base, trying to get on.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It just wasn't the same. So what I see, we have a flashback here. Talk to me about this flashback that we have here, E.
This flashback was from June 19th, 2016. And here we will see a young Ramirez walk off the White Sox. I think there's audio. I don't know if we're allowed to play the audio. So
we'll give it a shot.
Now, this is what I wanted you to notice. Watch Chris Jimenez.
All right, they won it 3-2. Steve, we had 2 good pitch games in this series.
I want to know if he remembers spanking Jose Ramirez that day, because that's hilarious. Because it must have been his birthday or something. Because that's just, oh. But I was just scrolling through the annals of YouTube, and I came across it. I'm like, that is too funny. So shout out to Chris Jimenez. That's
yeah, that's wonder if he remembers. I wonder if Jose remembers.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I barely remember that haircut Jose had.
Yeah. It's crazy seeing him with short hair, huh?
Yeah. But that was a great year. 2016.
It was. We were very, very close that year.
Yep.
All right, man. Well, it's been wonderful talking little guards here. We will definitely catch up with everybody, as things go on. We're going to cut it loose here because, man, I got to get to work.
Man's got to work.
I
got books and stuff to move.
Yeah, we got some stuff going on. So we appreciate those that have joined us today. And we will, catch you a little later on. Please make sure you like and subscribe. And we will catch you all a little later. Thank you very much. And as always, go Guards.
Go Guards.
Go Guards.